Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast is a Christ-centered podcast. Established in 2019 and hosted weekly by Pastor Chris Busher. Addressing a host of topics such as the Great Commission, Christian discipleship, and often featuring interviews with special guests who are experts in their field. The views and events expressed on this podcast and all related materials belong solely to their author and not necessarily to the author's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. While all attempts are made to present accurate information, some information may become outdated over time. Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast makes every attempt to timely update any and all such information. Without further delay, here's another powerful episode of Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast. Once again, we have another amazing guest joining us today, Keith Davis. Keith, pleasure to have you here today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for taking the time to do this podcast with me. I've been looking forward to this for a long time now. Thank you.
My pleasure. We're going to be talking about an app that you guys have developed, and we're going to be talking about that in a large way. However, before we do, I just want to give our audience an opportunity to get to know you, Keith, like where you come from, where you're located, what brought you into the Christian family, all those different things. So just go ahead, Keith. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Keith Davis. Friends call me Duke, so please call me Duke. For those of you out there listening, and from the U.S., families from New York, and a lot of us have migrated from New York down to Virginia. Spent a lot of time growing up in the Virginia area and visiting my grandparents and seeing my cousins and all that. I'm a professional aviator by trade. Come from a family of military service. All three of us are serving or have served in the military at one point or another, including my brother and my sister who continue to serve. And we grew up in Christian household, and church was not a thing; it was the thing. And Grandma was an astute follower and ensured that we were God-fearers and God followers as well, to the fullest extent that she could. And so she's been an anchor in my life. Both my grandparents have been anchors in my life, and they led their lives through the church. And considering my proximity to them and how close we were to them growing up, by transitive property would become an essential part of our lives and continues to be. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you grew up with that, understanding that. When you kind of left home, what did that look like for you? The things that you've learned and you were in proximity with, did you practice those things out right out the gate, or did it take some time for you to get it for yourself?
That's a great question. When you leave the house and you get busy with the modern world has a tendency to try to pull you away, from the things that are important to you, because the modern world is trying to tell you what's important to it and how you should follow it. And, we stumble a little bit, we're human beings. We stumble a little bit with, making sure that we stick to, the things that are important to us most. But I found that, getting into a community of fellowship, especially in the military where, things are or can be uncertain, with the times and when you're deploying and, when you're redeploying and what family members or friends are going with you, or, you tend to keep it always at the forefront of your mind and your heart, because, you just live in this space of uncertainty, depending upon the job that you have and which theater you're deploying to. And I found that jumping into a community of fellowship was extremely important to my overall well-being, and which led me to being in the space that I'm in now. Some other things that happened in my family and with friends from a PTSD perspective, but the church has been extremely important to my life and my family members' lives to kind of keep us grounded despite the uncertainty.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing a little bit about that, Duke. I want to talk about your app. So it's called The Inner Journey. And you talked about that a little bit. PTSD, mental clarity, this everyday mental fitness for everyone. So I just want to dive right into that. What is Inner Journey and what can we get by downloading this app?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I started a company called Affirmed You LLC. And Affirmed You LLC has 3 applications under it. One of them being Inner Journey Mental Clarity, the second being Parenting Parent Wellness, and the third being Neurojourney Mental Fitness. And, I started these apps, and I'll address your question right now. I started Inner Journey Mental Clarity, which was this project that I've been building over the last 5 to 6 years, after seeing family members and friends go through very serious and significant PTSD issues. And some of them have, seriously contemplated taking their lives or almost succeeded in taking their lives. And it was that immediate assistance and immediate help that prevented, the unfortunate from, happening, and so what I set out to do was, after being emotionally impacted, because a lot of these people are very close to me, in my orbit. And after being emotionally impacted by this, I set out to find a way to help them. And I started writing, what I call checklists. I'm an aviator, right? So I'm a linear thinker. So I started writing checklists, because I realized that, there's a lot of resources out there for people that are, going through something clinically. What about the rocky road to getting into a clinical, position where you absolutely need medicine or help, from a trained therapist or doctor. And so what I set out to do was create these checklists that someone who's looking to pick themselves up, and maybe their autopilot drive isn't on, let the checklist serve as the autopilot for you. Just follow the list. Don't think about it. And writing a page after a page, checklist after checklist, led to 278 pages of a book that I call Success Habits,
Wow.
And then that book turned into an application, because, after talking with some, family members and friends, it was like, well, how do we help those that are going through or potentially going through crises with an active daily approach to mitigating something from happening, flexing the mind and flexing the heart, the mental and emotional resilience capacity to the soul. What's that daily approach look like? Oh, well, let's look at it from a tech-enabled perspective. And that tech-enabled perspective became Inner Journey Mental Clarity. And then it was like, well, how do we really cross the spectrum of people? Because, parental burnout's a real thing. Okay, well, that's Parenting Parent Wellness. And this essential is Inner Journey Mental Clarity, carbon copied for parents, but all of the content, all of the visualizations, all of the meditations, all the reflections and the educational content is all geared towards parents. And mindfulness within parenting and mental fitness within parenting. Within this world, well, how do you address those that are looking to find that cross of mental performance, mental clarity, mental resilience, emotional resilience? And that's Neurojourney Mental Fitness. And oddly enough, when I deployed the first set of paid ads for Neurojourney Mental Fitness, it was 55 on up, hundreds and hundreds of downloads from 55 on up. In northern United States and southern Canada, they were kind of just, for whatever reason, exploded there. And we found that people are looking for that mental performance aspect as well.
Yeah.
And Neurojourney was essentially created to address stress and resilience in high stress occupations, like military and the aviation community, students that are looking, to address motivational burnout and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's what that was created for. But we found that it crosses a spectrum of folks. So now we have 3 applications: Inner Journey Mental Clarity, which is our flagship app. It's on the Apple app and the Google Play Store. Parenting Parent Wellness and Neurojourney Mental Fitness are only on the iOS store for now till we get more traction there. But we wanted to kind of see what the market is saying, and the market is saying, yes, we want more, which is great. So
that's awesome. You didn't just create one; you created 3 to meet the need of the people. That's awesome. I really like that.
I'll even talk one more aspect to the application that I'm extremely proud of, is what I call hype on demand. And I said, well, how do I create a space that is a safe community space to the fullest extent that we can control, and help really take the company beyond the individual use of an application? And what that does is that looks like, you have people that are lonely. There are people that are needing uplift in their lives, and they feel like they can't get it in their environments, in their communities. And that isolation is what's leading to people not finding resolution to the things that they're going through, and people are just stuck in a space, right? And then that just, when that continues to happen, well, now you start to experience those mental health issues from a clinical perspective. And, you can absolutely be treated. It's just that, what if we could prevent all that from happening, right? To the fullest extent that the company can anyway. So I created the Hype on Demand. And Hype on Demand is a space where I can touch anyone that the company trusts to become a coach on our platform. They don't need to be trained therapists or trained MDs. They just need to want to be a part of a community of positivity and no judgment. And I've created an affirmation experience for people to connect through Hype on Demand. So you go through the app, you click, you want to be connected to someone, and then based off the availability of the hundreds of coaches that we've tapped, a Zoom link will get sent to both parties, and you'll meet, and someone will guide you through this affirmatory experience. And they're really there just to say, hey, look, it's okay. We're here to hype you up. We're here to provide you positivity, and we want to ensure that people feel better when they leave than when they came. Anyway, that's the newest arm of the company.
That's great. When did you guys launch the company? When did this start?
Yeah, like I said, I've been building over the past 5 or 6 years. I had this, idea.
What do you mean? This didn't just happen overnight?
It didn't just happen overnight. I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, what do you want me to do?
People think that, don't they? They're like, oh,
I know they think,
how did you just create this amazing platform in just 3 days?
Yeah, brick by brick is how we created it. How I created it brick by brick, tier by tier. Sleepless night by sleepless night.
Right.
But yeah, it took time to kind of put this all together. And so the question was on the journey of this all. And
yeah, you pretty much answered it. That was it. I just wanted to see a little bit more background of the organization as a whole, and you did it. You hit it on the head there. So let's dive into some of the aspects of the app. You already talked about it. So one of those could be the daily reflections, the affirmations. Let's dive into both of those areas.
Yeah, it's great. That's a great question because I'm answering that question by talking not only the main features of the app, but the main purpose of the app. And the main purpose of the app is for people to, step 1, take control. And then step 2, capitalize on the synergistic effects of doing these neuroscience-backed activities and a mental fitness routine that is absolutely flexing your mental and emotional resilience in a real impactful and visual way. My mission is to make mental fitness the new mental health. No different than you go to the gym and you hop on a treadmill for cardio and you go to the weight rack for strength training. And you know that if you don't move and if you don't work out, you atrophy. I want you to parallel that with the mind, with your mental emotional resilience. You can absolutely rehearse, flex, and practice and strengthen on good days and bad days and just your chill days. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
So approach it like you approach physical fitness and approach it like you approach your health and wellness from a dietary perspective. You can absolutely do the same thing for the mind, your mental and emotional resilience. So we set out to capitalize on that. And how do we put that in the form of an application so that it's easy for a spectrum of people, young, old, Gen Z, Gen X, whoever, to use the application in a real and impactful way. And so I worked with some therapists, MDs, and neuroscientists, and we created what we now call a daily mental fitness routine backed by neuroscience, long-term potentiation. And that's when you are essentially working actively to rewire the brain, better input, better output, right?
Yeah.
And if you rewire the brain for positivity and for taking control and using the synergistic effects of a mental fitness routine that can help build your emotional and mental resilience, well, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? You're better off for it. Your family's better off for it. Your whole reality construct changes,
Right.
And so
I can definitely see that. Yeah. I can definitely see that, because if you want to work out your physical body, you have to go to a gym. You have to go into your home gym, right? And you have to physically do that. But you can work out your mental mind. You can do those things on a bus, on a train, on the way to work, in an Uber. There's so many ways. You guys did it. You put it in an app.
Absolutely. Yes, you get it. So, and people think that it has to be, this must be a difficult thing to do. It requires a lot of brain power. I'm doing mental math. No, that's not what it is at all. And it's step 1 is like doing what you do right now. You're breathing.
Yeah.
But breathe with intention, focus with intention, because that does 2 things for yourself, right? It tells your brain, hey, you are in control. And 2, from a neuroscience perspective, a physiological perspective, you're absolutely enhancing your bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
And you're reducing stress and anxiety simultaneously. You're better off for it. So in our mental fitness routine, we've got step 1, which is reflection. Step 1 is reflect, and that comes with a 15 to 30 second focus exercise. It's intentional. And then step 2 is conducting a mental priming exercise. We have a sequence of mental priming exercises within the application that were initially researched at the U.S. Navy Test Pilot School. And the idea was to improve the cognitive bandwidth of the fighter pilots while reducing stress and anxiety so they can operate in high up-tempo environments. And that same mechanism can be used in multiple ways. It can be used throughout your day just to kind of increase your cognitive bandwidth, reduce stress and anxiety on demand. It can be used before you study. It can be used before you fly. It can be used before you conduct an interview for a podcast, right? So step 2 is our mental priming exercise, because it not only will it guide you through these series of exercises, but at the end of it, there's a diaphragmatic breathing exercise using box breathing, right? So increases the stress a little bit and then balances you out. And then step 3 is learning. That's neuroplasticity. That's learn. We have a new video that we post to our system every day, so you can get your learn on, and that's your neuroplasticity. So that's step 3. And step 4 is affirming yourself, and that looks like, well, I set a goal, and now I want to actually follow through with my goal. And we all know that when you set a goal and you set intention behind that goal, and you actually execute what it takes to achieve that goal, how confident of a human being are you? Extremely. Because you've tried the waters of resilience and achievement. And then the next step after that is planning your day. So I like to take the top 3 things that are going on in my day. I write those things out in the application. Oh, and by the way, since you just reviewed your goals, you're much more likely to incorporate something that's going to help you achieve those goals, right? Which builds that confidence. And then I do a mental priming meditation visualization exercise. And I wanted a departure, nothing against Eastern meditation. I think there's a place for it, nothing against it at all. But I wanted a departure from that traditional aspect of Eastern meditation. I wanted something that fills you up versus empties the mind and empties the heart, right? So the mental priming meditations or visualizations that I have on there are more so like affirmation meditations and visualizations. And I've got a list of things. It could be thinking creatively, finding solutions, building confidence, delayed gratification. All of those visualizations are listed in the app. You pick the one that's best, for what you need to accomplish for the day or what's going on in your life. Do that 7 days. I promise you think different. I promise you. It's amazing. And so that's the next step. And our last step is call your family, call a friend. Now that you've checked in on yourself, now check in on someone, make sure they're filling their cup. And that's that one's just a give me, right? But the first steps are the neuroscience-backed mental fitness routine. So we constructed this with neuroscientists, with MDs, with therapists to make sure everyone believed in it and saw the science in it as well, and understood that the synergistic effects of this will absolutely build this muscle in the mind and in the heart, your mental and emotional resilience. That's in a nutshell what the practice is. And so we structured the application so that it's easy to follow this model. Each main feature of the application is on the dashboard for this purpose, so you don't get lost in it. You just follow each step. Step 1, reflection. Step 2, mental priming. Step 3, daily learning. Step 4, you see it on the dashboard of the application. Just go down the path. Go down the journey. We made it with such intention so that it's easy for anyone to understand and grasp what we're doing, regardless of how old you are or if you've used tech-enabled mental fitness before.
You're listening to the Faith and Family Fellowship podcast. We'll be right back after this quick word from our sponsors.
God loves you. God wants you to believe Him and spend eternity with Him in heaven. Discover true hope that comes by having faith in Jesus Christ. Visit the website god.tel. That's god.tel. Click on the God Loves You link to learn how to spend eternity with God in heaven. Also, get the free God book by Robert Woger. Start your journey of loving God today by visiting god.tel. Explore a deeper connection with God through Bible chat and study. Explore Scripture like never before with interactive discussions, personalized prayers, and daily devotionals. Whether you are new to the Bible or a seasoned believer, this app offers guidance, community, and spiritual growth tools to enrich your faith journey. Download today at trybible.chat.com. That is trybible.chat.com.
That's awesome. I'm looking over your website as you're talking here, and I just want to encourage the audience to do that as well. Visit the website, download the app on your device. You said this specific app is available on both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, so check that out. And if you have the iOS, check out the other two apps that you have as well, and hopefully they'll do well and go on to the other Google Play Store as well. So tell our audience, how can we find this app? How can we find the website? What is that?
Yeah, so the website, www.innerjourneyapp.com. It's spelled just like it sounds, INNERJOURNEYAPP.com. And if Inner Journey Mental Clarity doesn't pique your interest, we have links to the other two applications right there on that site. So don't think you're gonna miss out on using Parenting Parent Wellness or Inner Journey Mental Fitness. Come check out the flagship app where it all started. We have all of the resources baked into this application. It is robust. It is thorough. We ensured that people didn't have to go find 6 different applications for mental fitness resources. We put it all in one for you with a neuroscience-backed mental fitness routine that you can do every day. We are spending lots of time improving UI, UX, and enhancing the design so that it's easy for you to take accountability and keep a street tracker of what you're doing. This is extremely important to us. And if you don't want to download the application, spread this idea that mental fitness is the new mental health. Make it more palatable to the ear, the minds, and the heart so that people can talk about this. And we should all have one day where people are saying, what are you doing for your mental fitness? Yeah. And I'm doing this for my mental fitness. I'm doing that for my mental fitness, So please come check us out, www.innerjourneyapp.com. The app name is Inner Journey Mental Clarity, Parenting Parent Wellness, or Neuro Journey Mental Fitness. We do have a 1-month free code for all the listeners out here, Family Fellowship. You put that in the onboarding process at the subscription screen. It will not even ask you for a credit card, no payment details. There's a social responsibility to all this that I'm extremely proud to take on with the company. Put Family Fellowship in the promo code space, hit apply, and it'll take you right to the premium features of the application for 1 whole month. We have a 1-month challenge and a 7-day challenge. Challenge yourself. You'll find it right there on the application and on the website. Check it out, follow through, watch your reality construct change for the better. And, I always like to tell, since we're on a Christian podcast here, reflection and prayer go hand in hand. Don't reflect if you don't want to reflect. Pray. Step 1, pray. Take prayer into account as the very first step so that you've anchored your day in prayer. You've anchored your day in your faith, and then you can follow the rest of the checklists of the mental fitness routine. And I do that as well. So reflection for me is the time for me to sit and reflect with God and pray. And I go right into my 15-second focus meditation in stillness, and then I follow through with the rest of the steps. And I implore this audience to do the same. It is extremely rewarding personally.
I think that's awesome when you use the app yourself. Those are the best apps, is when the developer creates it for themselves and then shares it with the world. And so if you're using this, I think that just speaks highly of how important this is for your life, people in your field, and people who want to overcome those daily anxieties. You could flip through Facebook and get more anxiety, or you could do a mental exercise like this and get everything that you're telling us today. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for making it able to do it on the bus, on the train, in the Uber, those different places, walking your dog, those simple things that we can do to have a better day. And as you said, it affects every single area of our life. So thank you so much. I really appreciate having you on today. Anything else you would want us to know from your time here today, or future things that are coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get this one thing out to make sure I drive this home to everyone, because it's important. How many of us feel like we're just not in control? How many of us feel like, or don't even really acknowledge that we're not? And as soon as we wake up, we scroll on Instagram, we scroll on TikTok or on Facebook, or we open up the news, And what we don't know is we are allowing external input to dictate how we feel and how we think. And that sets the tone for the rest of the day. So I implore this entire audience, whether you download this app or not, just take a second to think about that, to think about what around you is absolutely trying to control you, and what around you is absolutely controlling you. And once you change your mindset on, you're like, oh yeah, like I scroll on Instagram first thing in the morning where I'm most susceptible from a brainwave perspective. I turn on the news and I'm mad, I'm upset. My whole day is gray. And then you carry that when you walk out the door, and who knows how you are affecting, your health, internally, and how you're affecting everyone around you based off of that reality construct that you've carried. But instead of doing that, do exactly what Dallas just said. Take a second, take control, and start your day off with intention, with a mental fitness routine that is based in prayer. It's life-changing, So I wanted to ensure that I relay that message as we close out, because it's important. It's important to me. It's important to the company. It's important to everyone that's working on Earth right now. And then two, yes, we have got some great enhancements to the application structure. We're building out into the metaverse now, so that people can come onto the metaverse and be provided an immersive meditative experience. So, Hype on Demand will be out in the next 10 days. The metaverse will be out even shorter than that. So I ask that people come onto the app, get used to the app, get used to that daily mental fitness routine. And as soon as those two new arms of the company drop, be the first to go on there, experience it, and let us know what you think. Again, Family Fellowship promo code during the onboarding process is going to ask you for that promo code. Put it in there, Family Fellowship, hit apply. And please follow us on social media at your.innerjourney on IG. We do these mental fitness campaigns, mental fitness in the wild campaigns, to really show people the different things that you can do in your day to account for your mental fitness. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Keith, for joining us. It's been such a pleasure. And this is, once again, the Faith and Family Fellowship podcast. Listen to all the things that he said. Visit the link in the description. Put that code in to get those deals there. So thank you again, Keith. We hope to have you back as the app develops and continues to go on. And maybe we can have you back on to describe those other features that you have, those other apps that you have as well, just to give the audience an idea of those. So thank you again. We hope to see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you, Dallas. Thanks for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You've just listened to the Faith and Family Fellowship podcast with your host, Pastor Chris Busher. Faith and Family Fellowship podcast was recorded live in studio with final editing made before uploading. Subscribe today to Faith and Family Fellowship podcast on iTunes or Google Play. For more fantastic daily content, visit Pastor Chris Busher online via Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't miss the next episode on Faith and Family Fellowship podcast.